Greyhorn Pagans podcast. Here we discuss all matters paganism, heathenism, witchcraft, history, and mythology. Leave a like, leave something nice in the comments, share this with everyone, and enjoy yourselves on this amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast.
Podcast. It is good to be back. It is good to have you all here. I am here, of course, with my lovely co-host and beautiful wife, FireFae. And today we have, and today our guest is Mark Naradoo. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yep, that's it. You can just say Mark Naradoo if you want. A lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining. It's going to be a good show, I'm sure, and for everyone who is watching, and I'm sure you're gonna have the same question. What is that on his throat? So Cicada, the FireFae, and myself, we already asked that question off camera, though off recording. So. But we did, because, it's a very prominent place, and tattooing is your thing, but you make it into a spiritual kind of practice as well. Just, introduce yourself.
Yeah, cool. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on here, both of you, FireFae and Stein. Thank you so much. I appreciate the offer to come on and have this conversation with everyone that wants to listen. For sure. But yeah, so I'm Mark, and I've been tattooing for just over 16 years now, based in Australia. I live out the bush and, work with people that make their way out to get their markings done. And yeah, I guess you could say there's like a heavy emphasis on the spiritual component of the process. But when you ask, like, is it a spiritual, do you tattoo it in a way that's spiritual? I always kind of giggle at that. My last podcast was on that, like, what is a spiritual tattoo? Because I'd like to hear what you think, but everyone's spiritual, right? Our existence is, if you breathe, you're spiritual. If your heart's beating, what is that thing? What's the thing that's making you experience this? What is it that makes you vital? What's your essence? Can there be someone who doesn't have that?
Oh, that's a good question.
I usually frame it up that way. So it's like, sure, some people will have their system of not believing. Mm-hmm. Our atheists or naturalists or materialists out there, and that's totally fine. But from where I sit and what I do, it's like just tattooing is just innately a spiritual act. You sort of can't avoid it. If you're marking your skin, you are also, there's a metaphysical component that's taking place. It's not just physical. It's a very Western thing to split everything out. Yeah. It's like all of the different parts, not looking at the whole thing. So yeah, the physical side's one layer, but then we have obviously like the emotional or the psychological, and we have this spiritual layer as well, or metaphysical. Yeah.
Yeah, because we spoke a little about that before we started recording, but like for very At least for like the indigenous people, the tribal communities, tattooing or like a specific tattoo, like you mentioned the Maoris with their the moko, on their
Mm.
mouths or their
It's
faces.
interesting that they have the Moko Native American tribes here in the States actually have something similar to the Moko. Chieftains' daughters actually have a tattoo showing that they are either single, in a relationship, married, or widowed.
Yep.
Oh,
Yes, that's like a social classification through their tattooing, which is, yeah, it's very common in all sort of like indigenous or traditional nations before globalized interaction. They had very defined systems and they understood all of the different layers of tattooing as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Ancient Egyptians did it too. Chinese did it too. Because, like, with the Chinese, they either tattooed their lips black or blue, signifying that they were royalty. And
Right.
if anyone was caught with that kind of marking, from what I remember when I was in school for beauty school, if anyone was caught with it and they were not part of the royal family, they were executed. I mean,
it
Mm-mm.
call it how you want, honey. You know we don't censor.
Executed. Yeah. I mean, there's like every single culture on the planet marked the body in some way. So we could draw on
mhm.
any of them. We could draw on any of them and look at what their practice was. The Egyptians were probably the first. It looks like that might be the case. Women's work, tattooing, with a lot of the priestess classes and stuff. Uh, and
It
sure,
was a rite of
it would have been
passage.
heavily gatekept. Yeah, it would have been really heavily gatekept. And yeah, but it's a misconception a lot of the time what we'll find in academia opposed to from the mouth of existing cultures because they're trying to understand something going backwards without participatory knowledge. It's just like procedural or academic. That's why a lot of it gets caught up as ornamentation. That's why a lot of the tattoo gear gets sort of miscategorized in archaeology. It's like, this is a chisel or a sewing implement or something like that. So when you start talking with people that are actually experiencing it, especially on a level of like initiated people within different cultures, the depth of what the process actually is entailing and the result of that, the changes that take place, because ultimately it's a act of changing from one state of being to another. And so most people will just look at it as a physical or, I guess archaeology's best attempt at understanding it is looking at the social order, so like anthropological, which are both there. They both take place for sure. But then it's like, if you're the person driving that car that goes through the change, what's the experience? So that's what I try to focus on. So if you go through one of those acts, let's say, Faye, if you're in Egypt and you got your lips tattooed blue, or if you were in say even Netherlands back in the day and you got a tattoo for a particular reason, how would that change your experience of yourself, your community's experience of you, and how you feel about yourself, and what your role was, what your psychological state was? And then we've also got to remember, if we put ourselves in the context of those times, that it's an extremely supernatural reality. It's not a secular world. So everybody's completely, like you two at the start, asking me the same question about my throat. You gotta understand, the whole community is functioning in this way where their enmeshment in terms of their psyche is extremely high. So they all have a shared central composition of how the whole cosmos works and what everybody's role is. And the tattoo's allocated to a certain function within that system. So you receive it, and then on a spiritual level, everybody else understands what's happening for you as well. Yeah, so that might come with like, yeah, particular responsibilities, particular parts of the story, the mythology or their knowledge base. that gets transferred to you particularly?
I mean,
Anyway, yeah, you
no,
guys go.
you see it in all kinds of classes. I mean, you spoke about or like you mentioned, like the old Netherlands and tattoos and such. I mean, I remember when I got the this one, the crow
Mm,
tattooed on my arm with in its beak the key to the city of my hometown, because that's part of the lore of my hometown. The keys to the gates. Um, my late grandmother from father's side, she absolutely hated the tattoo that I
mm,
got. She that I got a tattoo anyway, because in her mind or through her upbringing, I guess, tattoos were for criminals and sailors, which at the
yes.
time were, of
Yeah.
course, the same kind of people. Um, so even in her lesser state of mind, she after the death of my grandfather, her husband, she deteriorated incredibly fast. Um,
Sorry to hear.
yeah, well, I mean, true love. It may not have looked like it on the surface, but they loved each other very much. So when my
Yes.
grandfather went, it
She
was
had broken heart syndrome, basically.
Mm,
yeah, yeah. I mean, after
yeah.
60 plus years of marriage, I mean, yeah.
My
Um,
grandparents were very much the same.
but even when her mind was well pretty deteriorated already. Um, my dad, like, of course, speaks about his children and his grandchildren, and I was there too. So my grandmother asked, like, who's staying? Like, which one are you talking about? So my dad actually said the one with the tattoo. So I like kind of held up my arm to like show her, and her first reaction, and this was like a like this came from deep, like no, giant tattoo, no.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Mm-hmm.
so ingrained in her that like that was a instinctive reaction right away. Like it wasn't even that something that probably not even something that she was conscious of that
Yeah,
she gave
yeah.
that reaction, but it's been so ingrained in her, and I mean it
In
was
that whole
almost like
generation, Stein.
yeah, like it was the bad crowd
It's the
that
same way
got
here.
tattoos.
Yeah, yeah. It's a program. You know how so like we were just talking about ancient Egypt and Netherlands and Maori culture and stuff. And so we're going way back before all of these isolated groups of people actually started to connect through modern advancements like being able to fly or like easier seafaring or technology like this. Okay, so you go back that far, and the position tattooing had was extremely elevated within the societies. It was sacred, right? Then you move through to like 15th century with all of the like exploring and conquest that went on, and the destruction, rupture, and like brutality that all of these traditional cultures experienced, you know, at the hands of different groups, but a lot of it's like, the sacred conquest of like fundamental Christian spaces, which isn't like, just to state that it's like I'm not anti the Christian belief system, especially when it moves into like an esoteric space and stuff. But if we go back, it's like we look at what was happening, and all of these misunderstood people went through pretty pretty brutal experiences. For example, like the Maori people, just to sort of touch on what you were saying, FireFae, it's like if you got your lips tattooed in Egypt and you could, and you weren't meant to, you might be executed.
Yeah,
During
it was
this
also in
stage,
China too.
yeah. So during a stage in New Zealand, I was listening to this dialogue the other day. People were having their heads removed to make like as like a trade because their heads were seen as being so beautiful, or as like a tourist collection item. So there was like ships coming in and people would be literally taking people from their tribe to the ships to sell them to have their heads removed. So you can see there is a time stamp where tattooing goes through an extreme like the charge gets reversed. You know how you get a magnet, you can rub it on something, you can change the pole of the magnet through that
Mm-hmm.
that abrasive action? That's kind of what happened to tattooing. So it had a similar power to what you were experiencing from your grandmother, but it was the opposite. So there was a stage where if you had a tattoo of that bird with the keys to your city, people would have such an emotional response to you, but it would be the opposite. So it'd be like, oh my gosh, okay, that person has the keys to this part of the town. They're in this place. I've got a lot of respect and reverence for them. I'm going to make sure my kids don't run past him and splash him with the puddle of mud or something, because that would be so embarrassing. But at the moment, it's well, for that generation, it's different. And the reason is tattooing got stopped, and there was like a change in our collective psyche that it was bad. It was wrong to do. And so it started getting used, instead of elevating people within culture, to punish them. So slaves would get tattooed, prisoners of war would get tattooed. Part of that trading of humans was to tattoo them. If you went to jail, you get tattooed. And so all of these people that were arguably actually bad people started getting given tattoos, and they saw the power of it. So like if you wanted to intimidate people, right? If you wanted people to feel that way about you, your tattoo is a very powerful tool. Think about your grandmother's generation, and if you came down the street with tattoos on your face and on your arms, she'd be terrified of you.
Yeah.
So they started to get used in that way, which is the opposite of where they started out. So you can see a flip in its role.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
for so many communities or tribal communities or communities in general, it is still like very ceremonial. It still has such a important meaning. I mean, even here in Europe with the Gaelics, for example, or the Picts, like who had all those like intricate blue tribal tattoos and everything, signifying that
Blue
they
people.
that they are part
Druids.
of that tribe. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
it was very indeed very spiritual, or just as recognition that you are part of of that tribe.
Yeah, we're returning. We're returning back to it because it's like it's innately inbuilt. People, even with our lack of knowledge around the process, are drawn instinctively, and intuition drives them to get a tattoo. Unfortunately, we rely too much on our intellect in the process.
Yeah,
We think too much about it, and we think we know what we're doing. So we run the program that we've inherited. So a lot of people in our generations are working through what your grandparents' generation inherited. So we're going, okay, tattoos actually aren't bad. We can get them. Actually, there's like beautiful artworks. Oh, look, everyone's getting them. So there's like an acceptability of tattooing now. So there's a high level of people getting tattooed, participating, whereas the last generation didn't. But we still don't know what it is. So this is the thing. It's like, I don't know, are you comfortable talking about your tattoos on the podcast?
I don't often do, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So before we started, we quickly went into it. You asked about my cicada, and then we spoke about yours. And you rattled off about 6 or 7 tattoos that you have.
I have 2, 4, 6. I got 6 with a 7th one that I still want to get.
Yeah.
Like I have the design. I know the shop, just don't have the funds for it yet.
Yeah, that's right. We're talking about how expensive it is.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. And so there was a couple that you were like really happy to show me. And then there was a couple that you said you deny that you have.
Yeah, because I mean, deny is maybe not the right word for it. You know which ones those are.
Yeah, there's one that like was part of the emo culture when we were kids that you got the star, and
Yeah.
then
Hmm.
there's another star that, quite honestly, I'm sorry to say it, darling, I know you don't like this tattoo, but for the longest of time, I honestly thought it was a freckle.
Yeah, it's so on my back in between my shoulder blades, not even properly centered,
Mm.
which I didn't care about at the time, but I have that nautical star with the
Yep.
points half colored,
That every
and
emo child had.
yeah, like
Hmm.
every emo kid who's now 30 plus, you know, 90% of them has
Minus
a
this
tattoo
one.
like
I
that.
don't have one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you still have virgin skin.
Yeah, so yeah, baby skin.
Definitely, I definitely have baby skin. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
ones that I want to get, but funds.
yeah, totally, totally. Wouldn't it be nice if your community supported you to get the markings?
I would totally love to be able to do spiritual tattoos actually, because within my program that I'm doing for school, that's actually part of my emotional domain, is I actually want to get spiritual tattoos rather than
Mm.
your
Yeah.
traditional in a tattoo shop. I want to do
I
Yeah,
spiritual.
well, I mean,
I mean,
I'm going to try and use your tattoos to sort of highlight what's happening with them,
I
and
mean
it's like,
the tattoos you want to get are spiritual because they have a
They
deeper
are.
meaning to you.
So, like with
So
my wolf, it's gonna be with my Native American culture. My one that I'm doing for my granddaddy on my right side is gonna be in tribute to him, and it's gonna be like a memorial tattoo for the ones that we've lost. My grandmother, my grandfather, and Stein's brother. And then I'm going to do on the other side my Swedish heritage, and then in the middle of my back on the spine. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna do the chakras in like the Sanskrit,
hmm,
and
so
then
now all
oh,
we need is to win the lottery to get the money
and
for that.
then I'm gonna do another piece that I want to do in signifying my chapter with the school that I'm doing. It's gonna be my beauty through death piece.
okay, okay, you got a lot of them planned.
I do. I just don't have the money.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe we can kind of like run this interview as a little bit of a like a virtual consult as well.
Sure.
Hey, why not?
Because there's a lot that shifts when I sit down and talk to people about it, especially if they're open to their perception around it. Because like I've just been saying, FireFae, it's like there's a natural instinct to mark yourself,
Hmm.
just like Stein on his back at those stages. But unfortunately, we function from a place where our perspective is still an inherited program that's incorrect. So it's like anyone can get tattooed anywhere they want. They can do whatever they want. That's our current state. So it went from like extremely sacred and elevated. If you got tattooed when you shouldn't, you might lose your life. To tattoos bad, it's evil. Anyone that has them is a bad person. To actually everyone can get tattooed. It's a free world. Do whatever you want. But it's left them very empty. And so for those of us who do want meaning within our experience, we have to try and create that ourselves. But we lack the specified skill set and knowledge that was usually handed down so that your tattoo actually works for you in a positive way, not in a negative way. So if I return to your tattoos, bro, when you were telling me about them, you had the ones you're excited to tell me about, and you had the ones that, using your words, whether they were not the best choice or not, you said,
No.
there's some that I deny.
Yeah, I mean, just because I don't know, it was a different phase in my life, and they are, I
It
mean,
was
I guess
never a phase. You
no,
just grew up.
it's not a phase, mom.
Yeah, so, I mean, look, if we look at the language, it's like the last thing you want to do is deny a part of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I guess denial is not the right ones, but they're the ones that I am
You wish
that
they
I
could have been betterly
that
placed
I that I,
and done.
That I wish I thought a little longer about, because those two were impulsive. It was more like, I've got money, here's a tattoo shop, this is what I want, I'm gonna go get it. Like
Yeah.
it was just,
And
you
did you
know,
have anyone there giving you any guidance on what to get?
nah,
That's our
nah.
problem.
I
So,
was a youngster. I was
okay,
18, 20 years old.
let's go back. Let's do the thought experiment that we're in the Netherlands pre it being merged with the greater world. Okay? And you're that young boy and you want to get tattooed. What do you think your experience would be? Would there be a tattoo shop? Would you have the money? And what guidance would you get? If you were to think, just think about it. And what do you think would happen?
I already know the answer to that one.
What do you think, Faye?
So you basically go to the shaman, because like with me being Native American, I'll use my Native American stuff. You basically go to the shaman. They meditate on what they feel like you should have, and then you actually do a spirit journey and you see what your spirit animal is. And if the shaman was correct, you have a special ceremony to have said tattoo, and it is actually a party rather than a quote unquote rite of passage, even though it is, but everyone's present and they are able to see what the person who does the tattoos gives you.
Interesting, Faye. That's very close.
That's very
It's
very.
close. It's close. So, also, Faye, I'm interested. What's your background in the Americas?
I'm actually Native American, but I'm mostly I'm Cherokee, but I'm also mostly
Cherokee.
European.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I've got a really strong link with the Native American system. I have never been over and spent time in any reservations or anything, but I had a teacher
I have.
here in Australia who was a traditional Native American shaman, and
Which tribe?
he was Diné or Navajo,
Navajo. I'm actually adopted in the Navajo because of my
right?
grandparents.
Yeah, so I apprenticed with him, and he was one of the first people that started to really show me what happens when you open somebody's skin from a
Hmm.
shamanic level. And so, what would happen if someone went and asked him? So, like, let's say a young 18-year-old comes and asks him for a marking, which
He
he
would have
did.
laughed at him. He would have
Well,
laughed at him.
he was a very beautiful man. So, like, he wouldn't laugh, but he'd ask them a very serious question. And usually that would be, he'd go, Stein, what have you done for your people to deserve a marking?
Oh, wow, yeah.
And you'd have to answer that.
And that's why the Cherokee were so prideful in being what they know as the wolf warriors. And
Mm,
that's why the wolf was so meaningful to the warriors, is because that's what they were given.
yep, yeah. Yeah, so you'd have to do something for the people and probably for yourself. So part of like, this is another big invert. A lot of people's quest for spiritual cultivation and knowledge is self-serving in our contemporary world. Everyone's thinking about themselves and their story, and it's again it's not coherent with the communal layer. So if you were going to go do a ceremony, like say a vision quest, which is what my teacher Wind would facilitate. So before you would ask for a tattoo, before you were 18, you'd probably be guided to the edge of a circle to receive a vision. And when you're out there in that process, you're doing that for the community.
And
You
also
go out
yourself.
and you do, of course. There's your self-orienting and connecting. But everyone that does that is doing it for the community. Part of your giveaway or sacrifice in that space isn't just for yourself. And so it's like if you'd walked that path, which is a pre-runner to getting tattooed. So the tattoo isn't the powerful thing. The tattoo sits in a nest connected to other aspects. It's not isolated. So again, this is a big problem with our current participation in tattooing is that tattooing's isolated. So people think of tattooing as like it's a tattoo culture, and there's nothing around it. It's just tattooing. Whereas within the context we're talking about, tattooing's in a nest with other elements.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yes.
happen in isolation.
I mean, honestly, I'm like pretty happy that tattooing has become more popular, at least, more normalized. Because even, I mean, I I'm guessing like we're all '90s kids or right about. Um, like in
I'm
the
older
the
than you. I'm not 90s.
barely, honey, little bitty. Uh, but like in the '90s and even like a bit of the early 2000s, um, it was incredibly hard to like get a job or a good job with any kind of markings, whether they tattoos or like I remember I had my ears stretched.
Mm.
Actually, I had them. I believe I had them both at 20 millimeters. Pardon for my American audience. I have no idea what that is in gauges, but I'm European. We use metric.
I will look. Give
Figure
me a
it out.
second. I will pause 1 moment.
Thank you, honey. But like in order to actually get a job when I was I don't know, like 18, 19, 20, starting to find my way in society.
You had 13 and 16ths of an inch.
Okay, what she said, 20 millimeters sounds easier. Um, but I had to take them out, and but then I'd be left with those gaping holes in my ears, which are not my ear canals. So I'd have to put like a flesh colored in, which looked absolutely like it was just incredibly ugly because the color never matched. So
Mm.
and so 18. That was even like 20. Let's say 2010 through 2015 ish.
I have to say I'm
Um,
the complete opposite of you in this regard.
yeah, yeah, but like here in the even here in the Netherlands, like we're a very liberal, open-minded country, and we pride
You
ourselves
speak your mind.
on being such. Yeah, that too, but that's just the Germanic mindset. The Germans are even worse. Um, but like I had to, and for some jobs, still had to cover up my tattoos with long sleeves. Have to take out the rings, or like replace them with flash colored or even colored or whatever. So still very much a stigma. Like it has nothing to do with my ability to work that job.
I think
Like
I'm the complete opposite of you, darling, though, in that regard. I like the fact that they could be revered as something meaningful,
oh,
and
I
that's
do
why I want to do
too.
spiritual tattoos.
No, I
That's
do
where we're
too, and
different.
I do now, and that's why why I got a bunch more of them, because it's like what I don't fucking care if you don't accept my tattoos. I mean, they're not going anywhere, quite literally. So too bad. It doesn't prohibit me from doing the job. It doesn't
I
impede me
know.
in any
I
way.
like.
It's just it's the
But see, that's
visual.
where we're different. Because,
Mm-mm.
like, to me, with the reason why I'm getting the ones that I'm getting is because I've actually spent hours and hours and hours meditating on the designs that I want to do. And to me, that's more meaningful because they came to me in the visions that I've had. And I was basically blessed with these designs that came into my mind. And I want to do spiritual because that's a connecting piece to me meditating on the designs that I want to do. And that's why I have, as you guys say, baby skin or virgin skin, is because I want to make sure this is something I want rather than just spur of the moment.
Yeah, and that's a thing you see a lot too with tattoo culture having become normalized, a lot of people with just patchwork. Like a picture here, a picture there, a picture, like just wherever. Like, I like this one. I'm gonna get that one. Does it have any
That's why
meaning?
the
We have a,
wolf is so meaningful
we
Like,
have a
for me.
lot of privilege
yeah.
in tattooing. So Faye, how about can I talk to you a bit about your tattoos then? I'll
I
come back
have
to you,
zero.
son. Yeah, no,
I have
about the ones
zero.
that you're planning.
So with my wolf tattoo, I want to make it Native American and themed because I
Hmm.
want to pay homage to my brothers
Oh
and
yeah, yeah. No,
sisters.
I heard your reasons for it when you told me that. I was listening to that, but more like so you have your reasons, which is
I was
really
also
important.
being given a vision quest when I was younger,
Uh-huh.
and the reason why the wolf is so prevalent is because it's the one that came to me when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
and my nickname amongst the tribe is
Yep.
actually she who runs with the wolves.
Uh-huh. Beautiful. It's
Thank
a
you.
beautiful name.
So that was something I was given by a shaman, and she's fading from this world. So that's
Oh, I'm
another
sorry to
reason
hear.
is I want. That's okay. She's actually
Mm.
going to be more powerful on the other side to help me with my school stuff. But I want to do it in tribute to her. And then the ones that I want to do are actually in tribute to different people in my life who have helped me walk this path in discovering myself.
And you'd want your tattoo to help move you forward on that path, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is like one of the main things that we get wrong is our tattoos end up pinning ourselves to past versions of ourselves, opposed to pinning us to future versions. And so like listening to the ideas you had, I can see the potential for that in your wolf tattoo. So like if we were hypothetically sitting down, you and me, and we were looking at approaching a tattoo together and we we're doing this consultation, I'd be going like, okay, that's a really, that story and that reason that's linked to your growth is worthy, and we should be focusing on that. And then the other ones, not to discount the relevance of memorial tattoos, not to discount the energetic centers system that you talked about on your back, not to discount them, but I'd put them on the shelf and I'd say, hey, let's go with this one, which has to do with your journey and your development. And then let's explore that. And we'd be drawing together. And I'd also be asking you to potentially, I'd ask you if you're open to not being attached to the imagery. And if there was if there was any sort of resistance there, then it wouldn't move forward. So we have to come into a place of going like, okay, we're participating in a
Hmm.
process here that is highly sacred. And in order to move into it, to break your skin, to do the tattoo, and for it to be aligned with you moving forward so you don't get anchored to the past, which is what a lot of people's tattoos do. So you actually have forward motion. You're not hindered in the spiritual sense. We both need to be open to that. And usually, as a result of that, the whole tattoo changes like a lot because all we've done is be able to picture what it would be in moments prior to the actual event. And once you're in that space, the reality of what wants to come through for a marking might be something that hasn't been considered in approach to it. And this is like the nature of an initiatory process. So you don't know what's on the other side of initiatory processes. So like if you go on a vision quest, for example, I don't know if I'm understanding what you've experienced correctly because we're just skimming the surface, right? So I don't know where your vision comes from, and I'm open to hearing that. But if you were to go out and receive a vision quest, which I can put myself in that position, having done it, you don't know what vision you're going to receive. So you can't go into a vision quest, go, I'm going to go stand in this circle for 4 days and fast, and I'm going to receive a vision of a wolf, for example. Even though many people would like that, And I'm sure there's lots of people that probably do that these days, put themselves in positions where they are self-creating opposed to opening and receiving something authentically. So within the tattoo process, it's like you need to know why you're there well before you know what you're going to get. And in order for it to be initiatory, the other side of the tattoo usually lands you in a space of not knowing. And then you need to return to a point of knowing through a lived experience on the other side of it. So who am I now as a result of this marking? Whereas if you go, I'm going to get this marking and I know who I am on the other side of it, then you are going to move in time away from that version of yourself. Like you have, my friend, from your earlier tattoos. They're marked a point in time. They're done instinctually, which is great. You're doing like what you're meant to do at that age. But because of the lack of guidance, ends up getting, like we said, remember that magnet analogy? The charge has been changed. So you're doing something that you would naturally do at that age, but it's being used in reverse at the moment. It hasn't been flipped around. And so instead of being a healthy initiatory act that moves you closer to the future version of you, the one that you want to be standing in and that the people all around you want to be standing in, it ends up holding you in a different space. And so to loop back to the beginning of our conversation around what this quote unquote sort of spiritual layer is with working with people, because of the current tattoo culture, most of the work I do revolves around undoing the charge that people have in their tattoos currently, which is hindering their growth or their spiritual evolution. So that's kind of that's the main situation currently. Lots of people are getting tattooed, and it's a limiting process. It's degenerative opposed to generative.
Yeah.
Mm.
No,
Maybe make me want to move to Australia and get a tattoo.
You can do it there. You can do it there. It's all just like little bits of reframing so that you approach it in a way that's it's just doing the same thing. Me talking about stuff that maybe is a bit different to how you think about it is that same process that happened back in the 15th century. We're just doing it the other way. So we're just going like this, and we're just changing the charge so that you use it in a way that's more accurate. It's going to optimize your experience.
yeah.
I guess I'm gonna make a plane ticket to go to Australia because none of my tattoo artists here do that. They just put a stencil on or freehand it, and they go and they just do what the person wants. But like what you're saying, Mark, is exactly the kind of tattoo that I've been wanting to do for a long, long
Totally.
time. Is
Totally. Yeah, I get it. Like, because I've been doing it for ages. So, and the reality is it's not anyone's fault. Tattoo artists are just doing what they've adopted. They're adopting what they've been instructed with. So most of what I'm focusing on now, I tattoo maybe one person a week. That's it. So most tattoo shops couldn't survive on that. I don't have a tattoo shop because I'm anti-business. People come in, I tell them not to get tattooed because their ideas are shit, and because they're going to do something that's going to damage them. They'll have to die and reincarnate and be working on stuff that they've put in their skin. So
At least you're honest about it.
yeah, but I'm busy enough.
so
People come out and
I
spend
want
2 or
to do
3
that.
days with me to
I
get
want to do
tattooed.
that.
Oh.
I really want to do that now.
But most of what I'm doing is trying to put more educational resources out so that people that aren't here, or so there can be like a bigger engagement with it in a way that works.
Yeah, I mean tattoo culture. I've seen things that are like the complete opposite of what it should be. Like people going under narcosis to like get a huge back piece done. To
Yeah.
have like 6-7 artists working on it at once, so that they can have a whole back piece
Whole body,
done
yeah.
within the same day. And there's one TikTok creator who's very vocal about that, and I absolutely agree with him. Like even just from the even if you look at it from just the physical standpoint, the human body is not meant to go through that.
No.
Because I mean, it is.
Well, he's not
It is.
really like those people aren't really going through it either. They're tapping out.
No,
They're numbing themselves to it.
I mean they're literally going under narcosis. They're literally,
Yeah.
it's the numbing of the numbing. I mean, numbing tattoo cream. Yeah, I mean, Fireface got pretty sensitive skin, comes with being a red hat and all.
No, it's
Hmm.
actually quite the opposite for being a redhead, and I'm supposed to have a really good high pain tolerance, but I don't.
Yeah, so I mean,
Interesting.
so numbing cream, eh? Okay. I mean, it's still cheating, but um, like to go under full narcosis in like a hospital setting and then have what I don't know, like 40 hours of work done within the same day, like be that
No.
cannot be good for you, like in any way, spiritually, mentally,
No.
physically, you know.
Someone's going to die doing that.
Oh, for sure, it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
matter of
Someone will
time.
die.
But that's exactly what is with me is like I've been doing research into this, and this is with what you do, Mark, I actually have been wanting to do for a long time.
Yeah.
Is even though I want that wolf piece to signify like that part of me, I want somebody to help me design something that would be even better for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. It's really important. And I mean, it's like I can already feel the grip of the idea has you've let go of it. So now you're just like, I just want to actually have a process. I'm not attached to the result anymore. So it's like when it's in the commercial space or even in the art space, if it's like a commercial product, which is a tattoo, or if it's art, I want this artwork, it's gonna go wrong in like, I know wrong's like it's a gray area. It's not black and white. Sure, people can get artworks, people can get tattoos. It's fine, their choice. But from the niche that we're looking at here and what you're looking for, Faye, if you have the commercial tattoo mindset or you have the art mindset, it's going to go wrong. So you have to see it as like process, information. The tattoo is about information. It's like upgrading and recording different bits of information at a cellular level for you. That's what it's about. So being in a process like that, you're not looking for an artist. An artist wants to draw a pretty picture on you, and you're the canvas, and you're a personal project for them to create their artwork. That's not what you're looking for. So if someone comes to me and goes like, "Hey, can you do your artwork on me?" I'm like, "No, I'll paint a canvas if I want to do some artwork." The last
Yeah,
thing I want to do is my artwork on you because I care about you, and my artwork's all of my stuff, you know?
yeah.
So it's an important one to get your head around. And it sounds like you're doing that now. You're like, okay, cool. I'm not looking for a tattoo. Mark's talking about this thing, and that's actually what I'm looking for. I just didn't realize it didn't happen in the tattoo environment.
I just
But
didn't have
if
the words for it.
yeah, totally. I'm very used to people coming to a place of like, oh, that's exactly what I mean. I just haven't been able to explain that. Yeah, having the language helps. You're looking for someone to take you through that process. But yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that have the same perspective. Not a lot
Mm-mm. And that's where it's been
at
hard
the
trying to
moment.
explain that to somebody
Yeah.
here because like I'm trying to explain to them what I want, and I actually got laughed at by one shop and said, if you really want to go do that, go to Thailand. They'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some people. I know. I had a chat with one guy in the States, John, John Osiris. He does some pretty deep work over there. I don't know where he is exactly, but
What's his
I
name?
know John Osiris, Jon. I can send you his details, and I know he's got a connection with the Lakota people as
That would
well.
be amazing.
Mm.
Oh, I found
So
him already. Never mind, I found him.
yeah, so there you go. But let's look at your first ones that you like the one in the middle of your back.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you got it?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think I know which period it was.
Mm.
I might have been, I think 19 or 20, because it was when I was doing cook school, and I started that at 19 and finished it at 20. It was in that year that that I got that tattoo, and I know exactly which shop it was as well, because it's still
Okay.
there.
Okay, so the shop's still there. You're 19 or 20. You're learning to chef at that time?
Yeah,
Okay, learning
yeah.
to chef. Do you still do that now?
I've done it for 10 years. I'm good. It's a hard job.
Okay,
Looking
so
for
you've let that one go,
yeah,
yeah.
looking for something else at the moment. Kind
And
of.
can you remember why you got the tattoo?
I don't know. Probably because it's like I was kind of in my emo core kid phase back then. You know, with the swoopy hair and the skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Um, the only thing left of it is really the music taste. The hair has gone thinner, and the skinny jeans I don't fit in anymore. Legs became too big once I started training.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's really because it was like one of those emo tattoos, you know, the ones that emo kids or the bigger emo artists, like music artists and bands, like have and get. So it was more of this is the kind of tattoo that you get if you're in that scene.
Yeah.
um
So I was wanting to belong to that culture,
yeah,
the
yeah,
emo
kind of.
culture.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, in a way, I think.
Yeah. It's like I'm a member. I'm a member of this
Yeah,
subculture.
yeah, because I've got the tattoo as well, which
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Which you're not a member of anymore.
Well, elder emo, but not the swoopy hair and skinny jeans kind of stuff. Like, I do like the culture still. I do um look back at those times fondly. I mean, I've done some stupid shit, but it in the end, I met a lot of people. I saw a lot of great bands. Had a lot of fun
Hmm.
parties. So yeah, like in it was a good time with some stupid shit, because I'm early 20s,
Of course.
sprinkled in. So yeah,
Yeah.
like I found a culture and a subculture that I was comfortable in,
Yeah.
that I found a lot of like-minded people who listen to the same music and like the same things. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it
There's
was
there's a lot of good information in it. Experientially, at that part of your experience, sounds like it was positive.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what is it that you don't like about it? It's like placement and design.
Well, yeah, and it's also like it's a very impulsive one. I mean, the design is fine. It's
Mm.
very basic, very bare bones. Um, I mean, yeah, like perhaps placement, because it's in between my shoulder blades, and maybe I should have gotten it at a place that was a little more visible, and not just visible if I'm wearing like a very low cut tank top front and back, or just
Okay,
go
I'm with
around
you.
shirtless.
I'm with you. Do you have anything else on your back?
No, no, that's the only one.
So it's just a seed. It's just a seed. Think of it as like, because it doesn't sound like there's anything in there that's negative, but you have grown from that place. So it's like you've grown away, you've evolved, you know, Your legs have
Yeah.
grown. Your
Yeah.
worldview's grown. You
Okay.
know, you've
Yeah,
matured.
exactly.
So the tattoo probably could just grow
I mean,
in
um,
in alignment with how you've grown. So it's like you wouldn't be looking at that tattoo and being like, I want to remove it or cover it because I don't feel good about that version of me or that time of my life.
yeah.
But if it was to grow, if you start at that star and either build from there or cover it or change it and move further up your back.
I mean, I was. It's a few years ago now, quite a few years ago actually. But I might just still do that because I do still like the idea. Like add two like similar stars underneath it, but a like the second star a tad smaller than the third star, a tad smaller, like kind of representing me and the kids.
Hmm.
And could even I mean and I could even do one of yours, so have it like four underneath each other. I think I'd rather add to it, like make it part of a whole,
Yes,
than cover it up. Like it's
totally.
also it's a pretty awkward place too for a cover up, because then I to make it look nice I'd have to get something that like spreads over my shoulder blades a bit
Yes.
more. So
Does that not feel good for you?
no, not that necessarily. I don't mind that, but it's just it seems like a lot of hassle for something that I could just as easily make part of a bigger whole.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, part of a bigger hole might move over your shoulder blades, right?
Eventually, perhaps.
So it's a similar thing to Faye. It's like if you were to come in and go like, I want to represent the kids, maybe another 2 stars. This was the part of my life that I was in then, but I don't feel it doesn't feel right. Let's give it some language. Like I don't want to deny it. It's not bad, but it doesn't feel right. It's a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, maybe it's an indicator that there's like a part of you that's still linked or locked in to that part of you in time, psychological time, that's a little
Hmm.
bit awkward, that wasn't quite right with who you are now, and you've moved on from that. The kids are something that's happened in between that time and now. That's what's transpired. So let's acknowledge that. And I'd say, cool, can you be open to not being attached to it? Because I probably won't just do 2 stars underneath, because the tattoo is not in the center of your back. We want to align this a little bit, so it might need to change and grow a bit.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, yeah, cool. And then maybe you start designing something that you have no idea what it is, but you
Yeah.
know why you're there. And if you're open to moving into that, then the marking can come in that not only acknowledges where you're at, but moves you forward. It helps guide you into the next stage. And so we'd also be going into things about what you see coming for you.
Hmm.
A little bit of the research that I did before we jumped on here talked about your goals, your mission and vision within the Greyhorn pagan
Yeah.
trajectory.
Yeah.
Getting a
That's
place, having a sacred grove, moving towards these sort of ancient ways of living and understanding. And so
yeah.
for you to
Ancient,
integrate that,
ancient
for you to,
in modern times. Yeah. It's
which is
still.
exactly what we're talking about here with your tattoo process.
Yeah. It is.
So it's like opening up to the way things were done,
Hmm.
so that that energy, that spirit can come into your process and move you towards the thing that you want to move towards. You need to integrate that. You're not going to have a sacred grove and open a tattoo studio there.
Not for a while. No.
But if people want to get tattooed as in part of your community, you need participatory knowledge in what it is that's happening. You need to be able to see them in that way, see the people in that way.
Yeah. That's a good one. A lot of stuff to think about.
A lot of stuff to think about.
A lot of stuff to ponder over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the one on my back is the one that I think the best way to describe it is just it's a little awkward because it was
What's the
very
other one? What's the other one? You said there was another one. There was two that you weren't completely happy
small,
with.
very small star on or just above my hip, which cost me way too much money for the size that it is.
Yeah.
Like in comparison, the one on my back, I paid €10 more for, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know, like 100 times the size, and it's not even that big.
Yeah.
And since it was my first tattoo, and I hadn't done any research on like the healing and proper healing and whatever, so once it started to like to scab a little, I started picking at the scab. So like there's even
Yeah.
a bit of the coloring missing because I pulled that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just
Was that one before? Was that before or after the other one?
before the one just above my hip was my very
First
first
one.
one. It was very
Okay.
impulsive. I was with two friends, two female friends at the time, who both didn't necessarily have the best influence. But hey, I was young and I got attention from two girls. So
Did they get tattooed as well?
no, but
Okay.
they did already have tattoos. And the whole idea was just I want a star, just a star. Like I don't care. So I have money in my pocket. I saw a tattoo shop. I went in. I said, I want a star. Where do you want it? Yeah, like right about here. And
Why did you want a star? We're going to comb under it because it's like I wanted a star,
yeah,
but
again,
it's like I want a tattoo, and then it's like I want a star. So if you think about it, and a good way to try and get more information, because I can see you're trying to get the information here, is try and feel the star on your hip. Can you feel it on your hip?
yeah,
Okay. So now you're connecting to the place that the information is contained in your body. So while you feel it in your hip, now think about that time and think about why you wanted to get tattooed.
for the sake of getting a tattoo, really.
For the sake of getting a tattoo.
I wanted that tattoo because I was 18-year old and I didn't need my parents' permission. So
Okay.
I could.
Yeah. So the last time you said it, you said, I want a star, I don't care. The language you said was, I don't care. And this time it was like, I'm 18, I don't need my parents' permission.
Yeah, like
So the
I
reason you were getting it,
I don't need my parents' signature on like a whole
Okay.
permission slip and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm 18 years old. I want a star. I got money in my pockets. There's a tattoo shop. 1 + 1 = 2. Let's go.
yep. So it's like, I am in charge of myself.
Yeah,
I can do what I want to do.
yeah,
And I don't have an authority figure dictating whether I can or can't.
yeah. Very rebellious, very rambunctious.
So it's the rebel archetype. It's one of the patterns.
Yeah,
It's one of the patterns.
yeah.
So a lot of first tattoos have that exact same pattern contained within them.
I bet.
Yeah. And so that tattoo sort of leads into the other one on your back as well.
Yeah, because that was the design that I was actually looking for. So like with the tattoo, it did get better, and the tattoos themselves got better and bigger as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first one was indeed like very much the rebel. Like I'm 18 years old. I don't need my parents' signature. I got money. Let's go. The second one was indeed more like, I'm part of this emo culture,
Yeah.
emo subculture.
Yeah.
This is like one of their marks. One of the things that that they
Signifier, like a symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So an interesting thing with the placement of the two that you have. So part of the research side, observational research of people I'm tattooing, is there's different sections on the body that have different information contained within them. And so the hips and the bum and the thighs, so where you got your first tattoo, is your place of power. It has to do with action and what you do in the world. So your first tattoo on your hip, even though it's off-centered, so it's not aligned and completely true,
Yeah,
it was your first act of breaking away from the control of your family, right?
it's a little above my hip, like just
Yeah.
around the like
I'll show you
just
my hips
around the
quickly.
waistline. Sure. Yeah, yeah, like that kind of placement. Yeah.
So that tattoo is about what you do. So it's all action based. The next one you got around this section, front and back, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's who you are in the world. So it has to do with love and identity in those layers, which is where you got your next one, which signified the group you were a
Yeah.
part of. So you can see, even just very simply, behind everyone's actions, there is a database of information that we're running from the past, and I'm talking like deep ancient past, coded into us like a seed. All the information's there to grow a tree and fruit and reproduce. So that's in us, and it's trying to come through, but the environment we're in stifles it. So again, if you came and asked for that tattoo on your hip, okay, in our sacred grove back long ago, okay, and you came up and said, I'm 17, 18, and, man, stuff mum and dad, I do what I want. It's like there would be a bunch of men around you, okay, that already had their hips tattooed, that have a star on each side because it would be balanced, okay?
Yeah.
And they'd be saying to you, we're going to take you out into the bush and we're going to give you this marking. And as a result of that, here's all the things that are going to change. Firstly, your dad wouldn't come with you. Other men would take you out so that when you returned, your dad would see you come back as an equal.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
And he'd probably have the stars on his hip too, that he received when he was younger. And so he'd be like, okay, I no longer am sitting in this position underneath my parents and feeling frustrated. I've been initiated into the next stage where I've been given responsibility and a place within the culture, and that's helped me. And then if you were to do whatever you did after that would initiate the next marking. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it does, and I'm also thinking of like my family, the family that I grew up in. My father doesn't have any tattoos. My mother doesn't have any tattoos. My
Yeah.
younger brother, who will always be 27, I guess. Yeah, we lost him a few years ago, but hey, he
I'm
joined.
sorry, bro.
Yeah, he joined the club of 27. So it's a. Speaking of clubs, it's a decent club to be in. He didn't have any tattoos, but on the other hand, our younger sister, because there's a sister still, she's 24 now. She has a bunch of tattoos, and it's funny because me and my brother, or my brother and I guess I should say, we were very different from each other. I mean, Han, like you can speak for that.
I can.
As
They were
well.
very vastly different. One was socially awkward. The other one was not afraid to speak his mind.
Yeah, I guess who's the socially awkward one? Not me. It'd be very hard to be socially awkward and have a podcast that doesn't go well. So my brother was always the like he was the smart one, the learned one, the one that was oftentimes more often than not like the strict one, the sensible one. I was the well, the older brother who gives examples, but mostly examples of like, hey, this is how you don't do it. And then my sister, our younger sister, she is very much like me. Again, like she is
No, she's a mix between you and him. She's a mix between
Ah,
you and him.
that yeah, definitely. But Emma is definitely more the free thought,
She's a
feminist
free bird.
spirit. Yeah,
She's a
yeah.
free bird.
Does what she wants, but has a incredible love for her family. But don't tell her what to do. She knows what to do, and that's kind of that was his side. Indeed, like he didn't tell my brother what to do; he knew what to do. And my sister is it's very much my brother and myself, and she has a bunch of tattoos.
okay. Yep.
I
I'm so
hate to
sorry to
have
hear
to
about
leave,
your brother.
boys.
You're right.
I
It's
have
okay.
to head to work. I will
Alright.
look forward
Hey,
to getting your email and I'll talk more about my marking with you in the future.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the chat.
No
thanks for
worries and
coming
thank
on,
you
love.
so much. No worries. I'll talk to you soon, hon.
Yes, talk to you soon, babe. Have fun at work.
I
Dirty
will.
word, work.
Bye, hon.
Bad babes.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, my sister definitely got a bunch of tattoos. I believe at least two of which she's done abroad.
Okay.
The latest one this summer, actually, on her round trip through the states with a high school friend
Uh
of
huh.
hers.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and her first tattoo was actually, I mean, she's very like she speaks very lightly of it, but I think it's a pretty cool tattoo. It's on her, I believe on her left. Am I saying that right? Yeah, on her left arm. It's always the left for some reason.
Uh huh.
She has a band around her arm. All the numbers like combined, so that they don't like look like numbers anymore, but more like symbols wrapped around in a band on her arm.
Hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, I should ask her. She's done that one in Nepal.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Traveling's common. Hey,
yeah,
tourists badges
yeah, no,
a
but
lot of the time.
she's um, the tattoos that she has done. She has thought about them. She has
Oh, good.
she's not the impulsive one. I'm the impulsive one of the three.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, like with your father not having any, my dad didn't either. And so it's like, of course, we're going to start engaging with tattooing using the global culture's prescription.
yeah,
Whereas if our fathers or our uncles or someone within our family, within our circle,
hmm,
had already been tattooed in a way that was aligned, then we would inherit that view. We might choose to reject it and just participate with the world anyway. But again, if it's in that nest that I was talking about earlier, it's highly likely that the way we see it would be formed differently. It wouldn't be formed by subcultures like
yeah,
bands and stuff. If it existed within the family in a way that
yeah.
was more nested, more
No,
whole.
one of one of my one of my cousins who actually lives like 400 meters away from me as the crow flies.
Cool.
Yeah, like my uncle and my auntie, his parents live like 300 meters away. He lives like 400 meters away. So family real close again. Quite happy about that.
Village life.
Yeah, yeah, and mom and dad like next town over. So um, that feels good. That feels real good to be
Are they
close to
part of
family.
your are they part of the Greyhorn Pagans?
Not not actively. I mean, my parents do support me in it, of
Hmm.
course. They like especially my dad. He's a bookworm, his two reed pile is ever growing longer, and his red pile is not growing as fast as his two reed pile.
Mm-hmm.
So like if he sees a book about like the heathen times in Europe or the Netherlands, like he'll buy it and give it to me or send me. If he finds an article about something, he'll send it to me. So like over time, he has he's come to accept that I am a follower of the old ways. So when he finds something about it, he's like, hey, this is something that Stein would like, so I'm gonna send it to him. So
Yeah,
he
that's
does.
nice.
Yeah, he does accept it. My mom accepts it, but she's not too concerned about it. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's Stein's thing. That's
Stunts
that's
thing.
all. That's all right. If he's if he feels like if it adds to his life, if he's happy by doing that, by following those gods, it's fine. Just
Yeah, yeah.
a mom taking care of her child. As long as he's good, I'm good.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. The real stuff. Yes,
Yeah,
can we talk a bit about that? I'd love to hear more around what
yeah.
it is that you're doing and what the system of belief is and everything. I think I read it was Odinistic. Is that right? Odinism?
Yeah, I mean that's the for the Grove. That's kind of the brand we had to give it because governments they love their
Oh,
stamps.
okay.
Yeah, the Grove of Odin is like officially recognized. Government signed papers and everything, and
Wow.
they need a name for it.
Yeah.
So Odinism is what comes closest, I guess, as
Okay,
a
okay.
official sort of
Officially
entity.
recognized.
Yeah, yeah. I just always tell people that I'm a Germanic pagan, or more broadly speaking, a follower of the European gods, of the old European gods.
Hmm.
A path that I initially became interested in, I think also in my early 20s. A lot of stuff came
Yeah,
up in my early 20s.
yeah, yeah.
And I think it was actually when the Vikings TV show, like the history TV TV show Vikings came out.
Yeah,
I was watching that. It's of course like a very Hollywood image still, but
of
that
course.
um, that awoke something in me that just the whole, I think like more the ceremonial aspect and the perceived power that the gods held, or hold, I should say. That drew me in. Like that was just like, and the whole warrior culture, because I've always felt like I was fighting against something, whether it be something in my surrounding or something in myself.
Okay.
So the warrior culture is warrior bravery, honesty, respect, all
Mm-mm.
values that um, I already had, that all values that I already could find myself in,
Yeah,
and now I had something higher attached to it or connected to it in a
totally.
way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So do you then, let's say like the old system, the old belief system, European gods and stuff. So just
yeah,
like I've got European background as well. My father's side's from Slovenia now, so former Yugoslavia.
oh
So I've been looking into a lot of the old Slavic
yeah.
folklore and story to
That's
understand it.
a mighty folklore, quite
Mm.
quite dark at times, but very fitting with the region. The whole
Yeah,
Balkan region here in Europe um, has seen its fair share of trouble, fair share
yeah, the
of
trauma's
dark
there.
times. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Heavy
Which,
stuff.
yeah, which you like still see in their folk stories. There's a lot of very very little like happy things. It's all quite serious and all very very heavy.
Yeah, yeah,
But I mean that's also is like the middle of Europe. So I mean nature is absolutely beautiful there, but at the same time incredibly scary as well because it's still very very wild.
yeah, yeah.
You
A
know
bear
where
can eat you.
yeah oh absolutely absolutely.
Yeah,
You know, and still women choose the bear over a man. Different
yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but yeah, no, the Balkan gods, the Slavic gods, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of syncretism with the Norse Germanic gods. Although to the purists, the folkish pagans, they are really seen as a separate tribe of gods.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
I'm a little more eclectic in that. Like I see them as like similar gods or like maybe expressions of a type of energy, or at the very least, they are gods of the same archetype.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so you have a bit more of an umbrella view on it,
Yeah, yeah. I
as
mean, I
opposed to like this team's different to this team because you live there and I live here. Yeah.
I mean, I do have that view as well. You know, it's I do believe that um, you at least have to have like some European heritage if you want to be able to connect to our gods. But I'm not
Okay.
like not the hardcore purist. I mean, I've talked to like way too many people, way too many people from different backgrounds as well to still have that view. I mean, I have friends who are shamans. I have friends who are Buddhists. Friends with people who consider themselves to be more deist. Even some Christians, but like the pure Christians, not the dogmatic. Listen to me or you're going to hell kind of
Yep, yep.
Christians.
Real
Um,
Christians.
yeah, yeah.
Yep,
The who like actually live according to the teachings and don't just beat you over that with the Bible.
yep,
Um,
yep.
so yeah, and just on the podcast itself, I have spoken to so many different kinds of people from so many different backgrounds that I I found my gods in the European gods, but like from there I have really started learning more and building on it. So Germanic paganism is my base, is my home, is from where I
Yep,
have been able
yep.
to grow spiritually, grow religiously, and grow a better understanding of things.
Oh, that's beautiful to hear. Yeah, yeah. And it is an unfolding path, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
really hard to, especially in our current time, it's really hard to start somewhere and remain there. It's like there
yeah,
always almost has to be a lot of these like side journeys. I think you come back into like a narrower space, but I think you need to go like divergent in your exploration to really understand what's happening in this
yeah,
space.
yeah,
God,
absolutely.
gods, spirits, like what, so it's like something you'll enter somewhere. Germanic paganism. For me, it was Native American culture with that teacher I talked about,
Hmm.
where it wasn't just theory. It was like, I'm experiencing something here.
Yeah,
And then you start going, so like what's the experience, the parallel experience in all of these different fields and
yeah,
places and people? And you actually listen, like you're saying, without being like just bashing someone with your ideology. You start going, hang on. Well, if I believe this and you believe that, what's the common ground? What are the differences? What's real? What's not real?
yeah, yeah.
And then I think
Or
you come back somewhere and you go like, okay, well, sure, we have this council of supernatural intelligence.
yeah, I mean that was even you know a bit like that back in the day. That's why the Vikings or the Germanics and the Balkan people, the Slavics, they didn't necessarily see each other as equals, but it was like, hey, the god that you're describing sounds a lot like this god that we have. So, I mean, that's cool. Like, at least you're like-minded people. At least you're worshiping the same kind of god. I mean, the best example is Perun and Thor, Donar, both storm gods, both the most the strongest, the most powerful one of the gods in like actual physical prowess. With Perun, of course, more having a backstory fits with the Slavic Balkan region and traditions, and carrying a battle axe instead of a hammer.
Yep, yep. I was listening to a fella the other day that talked about the roots of Yahweh going back to two different storm gods as well, and holding
Yeah,
a lightning bolt, which then brings in Zeus. So it's like,
yeah,
there's
Zeus,
definitely a
Hercules, yeah,
bit of a
Zeus and
web there.
Hercules, absolutely, absolutely, and Hercules is of course the classic hero story, the classic hero's trial. And you could indeed even say that Zeus and Hercules is Thor kind of split up in a god and half god,
Yeah, yeah,
because Hercules is the most powerful one of all, and Zeus is the storm god who throws the lightning bolts and all that. So yeah, there's in the whole of polytheism, which of course has its roots in animism. Seeing nature as God, nature as a divine being. Like, that's where it all began. That the forces of nature were seen as something divine. It's only later on that we started giving names to them and attaching
yes,
stories and archetypes to it,
yep,
as
yep,
to understand it better, perhaps.
yep, yep, yep. I mean, that's why I found the Native American lens that I was taught through so appealing, is they still acknowledge the Great Spirit,
Yeah,
like so they come from this like mono lens opposed to poly, whereas like but then at the same time, it's the paradox. They're just going that they'll acknowledge spirit in everything. They pick up a rock and they're like, Inyam, there's the ancestral spirit of the earth. The first ancestors are here. Or Talo, the trees, or speak to the fire or to the wind, and they acknowledge the Mother Earth, but then they still talk about the Creator. So
yeah,
it's this system where it's like there's the paradox of acknowledging everything that falls underneath, but there's also this one point that you can't fathom it. Human intellect and language is going to fail every time.
yeah. No, it's also, it's a very animistic um, worldview. Actually, the divine, the spirit, is in everything. It just manifests itself in different ways. Here it manifests itself in the power of the waterfall, or in the sturdiness and hardness of this rock. Like, everything has a story, everything has a meaning, but it's all spirit. Very animistic, very very pure still.
Yeah. Yeah, and so to loop it into the tattoos to try and get a bit of like a connection point there.
Sure.
It's like I was saying, everyone pictures their tattoos as separate, and that tattooing's a separate thing to everything else,
Hmm.
and that a spiritual tattoo is separate to like an artistic tattoo. So it's like, can you have a spiritual waterfall and then a non-spiritual waterfall? And is the waterfall separate to the river? And is the river and the waterfall separate to the clouds and the rain? They're not. And so it's the same with your tattoos. It's like your tattoos are all connected, and your tattoos are connected to who you are and the life that you're living. They're not
Yeah.
separate.
No, absolutely. My tattoos are a part of me, and especially the. I mean, I guess all of them tell their own story, have their own meaning. It's just that the bigger ones that I have the bigger stories attached
Well, it's
to
just
them.
one story.
The story of me, yeah. Okay, well, different chapters, I guess. Different chapters in the book that is me.
Correct. And so it's your narrative.
Yeah,
It's the narrative of your journey through your life.
yeah,
So kind of like if we look at the mythology of the gods and how that forms, in the same way we can look at our tattoo journeys and start to like go, how do we make this coherent? That's the missing piece. It's like we're writing stories, but no one actually acknowledges that they're writing stories until later on. So it's like there's all of these pages in the book that don't make sense. You reread them, or someone gets you to reread them. You know, like I'm like prompting you to read the pages of your story, and you're going, yeah, I can look, yeah, I guess that's my story. You know, if this is how I feel about it, but that's okay, but this isn't, and so as you continue to write it, like if you were writing a book, you wouldn't just write the book in one go and then submit it. You'd write lots of pages, you'd reread them, you'd edit them, you'd rewrite them, and hopefully at the end you go like, here is a copy that I think I've put a lot of time into. You know, I've approached it with care and diligence, and this story accurately represents my journey through my life. I haven't just written it in one pass and then gone like, you know what, I'm going to submit this to the Council of the Gods, and they're going to see all these different parts of me that I haven't reflected on yet.
yeah. No, it's funny.
You know?
I have actually written a book. I mean, it's not a
Yeah. Tell
not
me
a
about
recent
it.
time
I'd love to hear.
bestseller. Yeah,
I'd
no,
love
it's
to hear.
the pagan revival. It's a term that we have really made our own within the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, because we see like the ancient religions or the older religions, like they're popping back up. So we have coined that the pagan revival. I've given it a whole name, the pagan revival, a guide to the ancient wisdom for the modern world. That was
Beautiful.
always like the literacy, and it's I guess semi fictitious story. Like the characters and the things that happen are fictitious, but it takes place in mostly places that I know, mostly in actually my former hometown, because that is the town that I was born and raised in, and in total I have lived there for a good 18 years, from birth to 10. Then we had to move because, I mean, 3 kids, house is getting a bit small, and I'm 10, going to high school soon, so kind of I'm gonna need a bit of my own space, and this house is just not gonna give me that. So the whole family moved to, well, where I'm living now. So I'm kind of back in my second hometown, actually. We lived here for another 10 years, moved out. Moved out when I was 20, 2 years in like a studio apartment somewhere, then went back to my birth town. So I know that town very well.
Yeah.
And the story, it's well, 2 fictitious characters, and I took some inspiration here and there from daily life and the things that I like. But it's basically the main character's journey from questioning life in general. Like he sees, he feels that there is more, that you're not just supposed to go through the motions of life. You know, you're born at 4, you go to school at 18, you go to college, then you work until you're 60, 70. Then if you're lucky, you have another, I don't know, 30 years to like actually live life. You know, that's and that's the very personal part that I put into that character, because I like, especially when I started, you know, seeing more of the world. I've been very blessed to have traveled a lot already. I always felt like this can't be it. Like there has to be more than just, you know, school, work, retirement, death. And he eventually finds his path through a co-worker, like and she is the or has a darker kind of beauty, like a raven kind of beauty, if you will. Like seems unreachable, and is just there's something about her that is just incredibly beautiful, but yet unreachable. And she takes a liking to him. Your average Joe who just works an office job that he likes, that he's good at, with a manager that he despises. Another personal thing. I have something against authority. And she is actually part of the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans. I wrote the tribe into my book as well, so the tribe is also canon. And he eventually, through her and her guidance, discovers that he is capable of more, that there is indeed more. And and in the meantime, they, of course, develop a love relationship, and they have to, kind of combine that with leading the tribe. And he's still finding his path, and she's trying to help him on that path, which causes, some friction here and there, of course. It's kind of the story of myself and FireFae and the tribe in a more fantastical, over exaggerated setting in
So beautiful.
my hometown.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's not a New York Times bestseller. I'm not going to be able to quit my day job and go full-time writing. But I'm happy that I wrote it. I'm very I'm pleased with the results. I'm pleased with what I have written for a first-time writer, book writer. I'm very pleased with it, and it's
Do you at any point in your story get initiated?
yeah.
What's
There
the
is it's initiation into the tribe, like the true initiation into the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans, where the main character also finds his power, his inner strength. It's it's still kind of in a city setting, because that's it's where I grew up. So park at pretty much at the edges of town, near a large body of water, and it's a gathering of the tribe to collectively do a full moon ritual, because that's something that that FireFae and I love to do together, rituals during either the full moon or the new moon. That's the rituals that we do together a lot, especially if it's a exceptionally powerful moon. Then we set the big goals, and it is there in the in the circle, and kind of a drum circle as well. So I think kind of subconsciously I picked some things from FireFae or Heritage as well. It's the the drums and the droning of the drums and the humming and the singing that brings him into this trance where he feels a higher power not taking over, but like coming through him. But in
Yeah.
of course, in a bit of a more exaggerated, fantastical setting. I mean, I'm sure there are people who have felt that exact experience, but
Oh, for sure.
it is still semi-fiction, so gotta turn it up a bit.
Yeah, you gotta set.
Yeah, and I did leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger. I mean, part two is in the works, but has been in the works for years. It's the ever unfinished manuscript,
Uh-huh.
and I kind of left it on that his girlfriend and and head of the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans is part of a smaller, like more magical occult kind of group who literally, comes together in an underground hall, like with candlelight and the whole robes and ceremonial things and all that, and that her lineage can actually be traced back to divine lineage, like actual goddess lineage. That's where I left it off, and where I'm trying to pick up from with part two, but daily life comes in between. But yeah,
I'm with you.
that's in
In a nutshell, that's it.
yeah, in the grander scheme of things, in a nutshell,
A
that's what it
grand
is.
nutshell. Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Well, it sounds good. It sounds good. I reckon you should pick it up and get it out there for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I should. I mean, it is available on Amazon. The link is on
Cool.
our website, of course.
Yeah.
So it is, and I do sell a copy every now and then, and sometimes it's even enough that I get a royalty check from Amazon for a few tenors, but
Yep. Yep.
so $30 or so. But hey, that still means that I met the payment goal. So hey,
Yep. Yep. Well done. Good one. Cool.
yeah,
Yeah, maybe I'll have a read of your story, mate. That'll be a
yeah,
good one.
no, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm just curious, do you have any other questions around the tattooing stuff while we're on here? I'm just looking at the clock. I might have to jump off in 10, but
Well, a whole lot actually, but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
not enough that I can squeeze them in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe one that I'm kind of curious about with what's his name, let's see, the Iceman.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see something like that. He had tattoos as well, and there is a speculation that it might be like medical of some sort because they seem to be placed on joints or something or a particular
Oh yeah, yeah.
organ.
Yeah,
So I'm kind
they're
of
definitely therapeutic.
yeah.
Again, people that might be like speculating that opposed to stating it, it's because they're trying to fit it into our current worldview. Think about the worldview of that time.
Mm, yeah.
He's not getting tattoos to look cool.
No, they have
It's a totally different thing. There's a reason that he's doing them.
yeah.
And also they they overlay like Chinese meridian systems. They're on joints. They're with herbal plants. They've been done with a process that's like almost a mixture of cutting and moxibustion, which is like the burning of plant matter that they do on those points. So there's lots of different layers to it. Other implements that he was found with, the way that he died, the areas he was in. It's like he was probably some type of journey man, medicine man, traveling and, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I believe it is said that at the very least he was a sheep's herder
Hmm.
who, of course, especially back in those times, travel incredibly long distances.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I think it's pretty obvious that there was therapeutic benefit, but maybe on a very surface level, you know, like aiding in arthritis or whatever it happens to be. They still, to this day in China, do pretty much the same tattoos. I can't pronounce the Chinese. It starts with X, the area, but they literally still cut and burn pigment into the elbows and wrists. So you can see people with the same markings as Otzi for therapeutic reasons. So it's like it's not a hard correlation to make.
Okay. And I know that um, there is somebody, might have actually been Tom Rousel from Survive the Jive, but I can't say for sure,
Mm.
who copied his tattoos, who got the exact same tattoos, the exact same placement as Otzi did, but
Otzi.
I think out of a reference, out of respect, and perhaps also kind of a experimentation. Like, hey, are those tattoos and the placements actually what we think or we speculate that they are for?
Mm.
And it's like very much a Hollywood trope as well. Of course, careful with what tattoos you copy and from whom, because you don't know the kind of life they lived. You don't know the symbol, what the symbols stand for. You may think it's just like a very cool, cool picture, cool tattoo, and before
Yep,
you know it, you're summoning some eldritch horror of some kind.
totally. That's definitely a possibility. Again, it's kind of one of the biggest issues that we're facing with contemporary tattoo culture is that everybody's just mimicking their markings.
Yeah,
Everybody's getting tattoos that don't represent who they are through the screen. They're just looking through this black wormhole across the world at other people that are signaling things that they subconsciously want to align with that are probably quite detrimental to their movement forward, who
yeah,
they actually are, moving them further away from who they are and closer towards this projection, this
yeah.
superficial projection of self. Pretty tricky
I
thing
mean,
to come out of.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, my tattoos, they were um, existing designs, but I had them at least altered in a way that they are personal to me, so not
Mm.
a one-on-one copy. Like, if I'm gonna, I have definitely grown into that mindset that if I'm going to get a tattoo, it has to come from a good artist who knows what they're doing. Like, no scratchers, and it has to be a good design. and it has to have some sort of meaning to me. Like the key from the crow, like I had that altered to actually resemble the actual key that is on the flags of my hometown. And the wolf, I also had that altered a little so that it is more personal, and the pink boundaries, the pink stuff was actually a tip from the tattoo artist, like a last minute tip, so that it the wolf actually pops out more, like comes feels like it's
Mm-hmm.
more in the foreground, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I got that tattoo for FireFae, because she
Oh,
is
beautiful.
the wolf mama, the one who runs with wolves. It was kind of a an impulsive one as well, because like it was like one evening or so when she said like, hey, it'd totally be cool if, like, kind of jesting, and I was like,
Okay. Yep. Yep. Yep.
so yeah, I knew a good shop. I asked for an artist who or looked ahead for an artist who specialized in realism, did the down payments, made the appointments, and well, I mean, 8 hours and $800 later, now it's permanent. So
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Locked it in.
yep,
Locked it in. Well, bro, I pray that you move into a space, maybe as part of book two, that you get to, your markings land from a place deep within, deep in the ancestral codes that you hold out on your sacred grove somewhere, and that they lift you and bring you into alignment with the optimal version of yourself for that tribe that you're forming there at some point in the future with a
yeah,
guide. So outside of the artist's realm and outside of the hands of anyone trying to curate or design it for you, and that it comes in and moves you into the place that you potentially could be in. And I've really
yes,
enjoyed having chats with you, man. It's been a nice chat, and I'd be
yeah.
keen to jump on again too if you on the back end of this, if you end up, having any sort of things dropping you want to talk
I
about
mean,
more, I'd be happy to.
I know that FireFae absolutely wishes that she could have like stayed for the second hour as well, because I mean, as you heard, like, she has so many ideas and such, like
Yeah,
literal meanings behind it and all. And I mean, work is still something that we both have to do. Unfortunately, bills have to be paid, and
yeah, they're utterly practical.
it's yeah, just practical. That's it. But I mean, I know for sure that she's gonna have many things that she still wants to talk about and wants to ask you. So guaranteed you'll be back, if not just a one-on-one with FireFae.
That's great. Yeah, well, let's do that, mate. Let's do that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, no, this has been great, man. I had no idea in which direction this was gonna go, but I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased with that one. Learned a lot.
Yeah, great.
Learned a lot
Yeah,
about
well,
myself as well, actually.
yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for reaching out, and yeah, I hope anyone that's listening in from your circle also gets a bit out of it. And if anyone that's listening, has questions or things they want to know, they can reach out through you if we're going to line something else up. And yeah, maybe next time we chat, I'd love to hear some more about what you know too with the story side. The research you've done, the books you've read, because I'm only just digging into the Slavic stories. So I'm sure you could share a lot with me.
Yeah,
But yeah, yeah, I better roll out and join in with the kiddies for the rest of the day.
yeah, you do that.
Thanks, man.
I'm just gonna do the whole influencer ending of the video plugging.
Oh
So
yes.
I mean, if you need to be with the kids, go be with the kids. That's perfectly fine. But yeah, this has been another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. So I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for listening. If you liked what you saw, if you liked what you heard, don't forget to leave a like on the video. Leave something else in the comments. Share your tattoo story. I mean, I know that especially in my circle, pretty much everyone has tattoos, and at least everyone has a story. So why not share this with everyone? Just everyone, doesn't matter who. Subscribe if you're listening to this on the podcasting platforms. Leave a 5-star rating. That really helps us push the podcast out there for more people to hear, for everyone to learn from. And if you want to learn more about what we do on the podcast, learn more what we do with the tribe of the Greyhorn Pagans and our goals for the growth of Odin, simply go to our website www.greyhornpagans.com. And with that all said, with that all done, I want to thank you all, and until next time, everyone.
This was yet another amazing episode of the Greyhorn Pagans podcast. We thank you all for watching. We thank you all for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you will be notified whenever we upload something new. Support us on Patreon for early access and for everything else that we do with the tribe, for everything else that we do with the podcast. Find us on www.greyhornpagans.com. For now, we thank you, and until next time.